That's good. Good evening, everyone. This is the regular meeting of the Board of Commissioners, St. Charles Parish Housing Authority for Tuesday, August 26, 2025. The time is now 6 p.m. Call the meeting to order. Having a quorum of the meeting, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, our first agenda item before us this evening is the review and approval of our agenda. We have a motion or any discussion? Commissioner Bailey?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to pass a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
All right, Commissioner Bailey's moved to approve the agenda as presented. Do we have a second? Mr. Joseph has seconded. Please cast your votes. All right, that passes. Our next agenda item this evening is review and approval of our board meeting minutes from July 22nd, 2025. Any discussion or motions from the board? Commissioner Bailey?
I'd like to pass a motion that we approve the minutes from the previous board meeting, board meeting on July 22nd, 2025.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Bailey. Commissioner Bailey has moved to approve the minutes from our July 22nd, 2025 meeting. That's been seconded by Ms. Diggs. Please cast your votes. All right, and that is approved. At this time, we'll open for public comment. Time is 6:03. Seeing no one in the chamber, close public comment. And at this time, our next agenda item is review and acceptance of financial reporting, July 2025. And there's a request to defer to the September 2025 meeting. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, good evening. We're requesting this to be deferred as we received the July financial reports from 76 Strategies on yesterday. There were a few reconciliation issues with the low rent and Section 8 check registers, which is the starting off point for the report. So those have been addressed, but as you did not receive the reports in advance of the meeting, the 6 to 7 days that we like to make sure that the board members have all of the meeting documentation, we're requesting that this agenda item be deferred, but we do have the reports for July, and they will be a part of the September meeting agenda.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson. At this time, we'll move on to the Executive Director's Report. Go ahead, Mr. Jackson.
Yes. Good evening, Commissioners, again, and thank you for your service to St. Charles Parish Housing Authority as well as the community.
No.
We included, we do have our July 2025 low rent report, which can be found on page 32 in your packet. For the month of July 2025, we collected a total of $15,154.99 in rent. Of our units that are available to be leased of the 59, 8 of which are either move-in ready or currently being worked on. 51 units were leased for the month of July. Again, we do have the 70 across Des Allemands, Hanville, and Boutique that are on mod status, and the 8 vacant units. We currently, for the month of July, our old waiting list currently contains 241 applicants, and the new waiting list has 76. We mailed out 20 waiting list letters, and we currently had, for the month of July, 15 maintenance work orders that were completed and started in a timely manner, as well as 3 new admissions or move-ins, Unit 240, Unit 258, and Unit 259. For your information, the work orders that were completed for the month of July begin on page 36, as well as the repair plan and update on the status of units for our vacant units at the Boutique property begins on page 51, which includes the estimated dates of completion to bring any of the vacant units that are back online. As we are discussing during our staff meetings, we have worked again diligently towards vacancies being move-in ready by the month of September, and according to this report, we have met the final occupancy threshold by meeting the 85% occupancy threshold set by local HUD on our recovery agreement that we were required to meet by the end of September 2025, and we do anticipate being at around 51 or 52 occupied units by September 1st, taking into account new move-ins and possible evictions at the property. And as an FYI, the next update to the field office regarding the recovery agreement is due at the end of next month. I will be glad to report that progress, and I would like to thank the staff for diligently working to get a lot of our units that have been vacant for a very long time back into commerce and filled and occupied by families, so we can provide additional low-income housing for residents of St. Charles Parish. Next up, we do have our HCV report, which can be found on page 54. For the month of July, we had 1 port out, St. John Housing Authority, and 5 port outs leased up between St. John, Kenner, Ouachita, and a housing authority in Texas. We're billing currently for 19 port ins across Kenner, Hano, Thibodaux, Houston Housing, St. John Parish, the city of Fernandina, Florida, Natchitoches, and in Jefferson Parish. We had 2 EOPs for the month of July. Across our HAP program, we paid out $282,784.05, and for our HAP income, including administrative fees, we took in $286,318.55. Currently, we have a voucher holder in-house searching, and we have 6 new admissions leased up from the waiting list. We added 3 new landlords to the program, and currently our total vouchers leased up is 241, with 3 voucher holders searching. And we also are glad to report that we have our June and July VMS reports, which were submitted timely and are included in your board packet, and those submitted reports can be found beginning on page 56. Usually we're a little bit behind because of how the board meeting falls, but the submission occurred earlier in the month, and we were able to get that in your board packet for June and for July. Unless the board requests otherwise, we will not need an executive session, as I do not have any new human resource or legal matters to discuss with the board. We do have 2 resolutions being considered by the board tonight, the first being a resolution to revise the St. Charles Housing Authority travel policy. The original policy was largely based on reimbursing travelers as the normal best practice for the agency, and usually any agency, public agency, is paying the cost up front directly to the vendor. And this prevents an undue burden on travelers, but also ensures checks and balances remain to ensure fiscal accountability when traveling. And the second resolution is necessary as is a resolution that would remove the late Commissioner Woods from our financial signature documents as required by our bank. Lastly, I did receive a notification that our 2025 through 2029 5-year and fiscal year 25 annual PHA plans have been accepted by HUD. We did also submit a certification to HUD on our property status for the upcoming fiscal year, which goes into the formula for our operating subsidies. So with all of our units that are currently on demo dispo pending conversion, which is all of our 129 units, we should be able to get the normal subsidy for those units pending, of course, that conversion. And we are currently working with 76 Strategies on budget prep for the upcoming fiscal year, and those budgets will be provided for consideration at our next meeting. I will also have an update during the RAD Section 18 conversion portion of the agenda for that process as well. And that concludes my report. Does any commissioner have any questions regarding the report this evening?
Any questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson. All right, this time, do any commissioners request that we go into executive session? All right, seeing none. Commissioner Bailey? Okay, at this time, we'll move on to our resolutions for the evening. As Mr. Jackson has stated, there are two before us this evening. First one in regard to our travel policy. You have a memorandum attached from the staff. Purpose of the memorandum is to provide an overview of proposed resolution to approve and authorize resolution for revision of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority travel policy. The authority is a public housing agency established pursuant to Louisiana law, whose mission is to promote adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a living environment free from discrimination. Committed to the authority's mission, the staff is continuously working to improve services, strengthen operations, and implement sound policy. The authorities and its Board of Commissioners from time to time, as dictated by HUD, federal regulations must create and revise agency policies and procedures to ensure compliance with federal, state, and local law, as well as to look for efficiency of process. The policy affects the current, incumbent, and future St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Executive Directors and Commissioners to ensure transparency and accountability with federal, state, and local laws and regulations governing the rules of engagement with external independent auditors. The resolution will allow for the subsequent revision of the current St. Charles Parish Housing Authority travel policy, originally passed on April 24th, 2023. Revised travel policy, revised 8/26/25. Introduction. Training and conferences are important enrichment opportunities to provide St. Charles Parish Housing Authority staff and board members with the skills needed to carry out their duties. At times, these opportunities require St. Charles Parish Housing Authority to incur reasonable travel costs. Anticipated travel costs shall be approved as part of the budgeting process each year. St. Charles Parish Housing Authority will consider location and cost as factors when determining travel needs. The travel policy applies to all St. Charles Parish Housing Authority employees and board members traveling on Housing Authority business. The agency will directly pay for or provide an allowance per diem for all reasonable and necessary expenses while traveling on authorized Housing Authority business. The Housing Authority assumes no obligation to pay for expenses that are not in compliance with this policy. This travel policy covers both local and out-of-town travel related to Housing Authority's business, with an emphasis on policies and procedures associated with out-of-town travel. Employees occasionally participate in various St. Charles Parish Housing Authority functions which advance St. Charles Parish Housing Authority programs and objectives. On some occasions, an employee's spouse, dependent, or guest may be able to attend these events. In such cases, the travel and accommodation expenses for the spouse, dependent, or guest must be paid for by the individual and will not be paid by St. Charles Parish Housing Authority. The policy should be read in conjunction with the Public Housing Authority's credit card, vehicle, and personnel policies. Travel responsibility and enforcement. The traveler is responsible for complying with this travel policy and its procedures, ensuring that both their travel arrangements and final expense report meet St. Charles Parish Housing Authority's rules and have been approved by the appropriate official. Employees are expected to exercise good judgment with respect to expenses, spend the Housing Authority's money as carefully and judiciously as they would their own, utilize the most direct and most economical transportation, taking into consideration travel time, absence from St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, and convenience. Report all expenses and allowances promptly and accurately with required documentation. Travelers who do not comply with this travel policy must be subject to delay or denial of expenses payment or travel allowance reconciliation, disciplinary action after a significant number of policy exceptions, and appropriate management action up to and including termination. Travel procedures. A copy of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority's travel policy and procedures shall be provided to each employee and all board members who may travel on Housing Authority business. The PHA employee and board members shall sign and date a document acknowledging that the travel policy and procedures were provided and that they have read and understand them. The original signed copy shall be placed in the employee or board member's file, and a copy shall be provided to the individual. Each traveler must document their travel expenses on a separate travel expense authorization form. The following procedures related to travel on Housing Authority business are provided below: travel plan, expense for routine local travel, expenses for same-day trips, travel status for out-of-area travel, prepayment and allowance for out-of-area travel, leave taken with business travel, travel authorization procedures, travel expense reporting procedures, reimbursements for parking, travel to and from airport travel to and from hotel to conference venues and back to the hotel. Employees and board members may not approve their own travel arrangements or expense report. As a rule, the executive director will approve all travel requests and reports. Where the traveler is the executive director, any further approval must be provided by the board. The approver is responsible for accurately reviewing all requests and reports for compliance. Travel plan. All travel must be authorized and approved by the board. Training conferences will be listed in a travel plan and provided to the board for review and approval with the operating budgets. The travel plan should outline the session type, the individual scheduled to attend, the sponsoring organization, and the projected cost. The projected cost should include hotel costs, airfare, rental car charges, and per diem amounts. Travel should always be arranged to serve the best interests of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority and must have a legitimate business purpose. The expenses must be incurred in connection with services performed as an employee for the program benefiting from the training. The table below depicts items that should be included in the travel plan. Includes training, location, dates, program, purpose, and total cost. There's an example in your packet. Expenses for routine local travel. Travel expenses associated with the use of personal vehicle to conduct routine Housing Authority business within the service area if a PHA vehicle is not available will be reimbursed at the current IRS millage rate. Examples of routine local travel include a property manager traveling to from the agency's properties, central office, bank, and courts. Routine local travel does not require private approval from the executive director or board. The traveler will submit the local area travel authorization form for reimbursement. Expenses for same-day trips. Same-day trips within or outside of the local area will be reimbursed for personal vehicle mileage at the IRS mileage rate. Meal expenses are generally not covered for travel within the local area. However, the cost of a meal that is an integral part of an external meeting may be claimed for reimbursement. For same-day trips outside of the local area, expenses for breakfast may be considered for reimbursement if it is necessary to leave home before 6:30 a.m., and all the evening meal may be reimbursed if the time of return is after 7:30 p.m. Y'all want me to continue, or have y'all checked this out? Anybody have any?
Good.
Okay. Just want to verify. All right. We have, what's that?
It's a little bit further down.
Where?
Almost in there twice. Right?
Okay. So approval and adoption of this resolution by the Board of Commissioners is required for the revision of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority travel policy, and it is recommended by the staff for board approval and adoption of the proposed resolution for the revision to our St. Charles Parish Housing Authority travel policy. Any board discussion or motions?
Motion to approve as read, as written, which is on file and could be requested requested approval and adoption of the proposed resolution for the revision of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority travel policy.
All right, thank you, Mr. Brullier. That's been moved to approve the resolution, review of which can be found in our travel policy, and that's seconded by Commissioner Bailey. If there's no further board discussion, please cast your votes. All right, and that passes unanimously. So, let's see, where are we at now?
That was it.
That was it?
Yeah. I just included a copy of the policies.
Okay.
The old and the new.
Resolution 25082601, a resolution of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approving and adopting resolution to revise St. Charles Parish Housing Authority travel policy. The undersigned, being the duly elected Secretary of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, hereby certifies that by written consent, the following resolution was duly adopted. Whereas St. Charles Parish Housing Authority is a public housing agency established pursuant to Louisiana law, and whereas the mission of the authority is to promote adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a suitable living environment free from discrimination, and whereas the authority, as dictated by federal, state, and local laws and regulations, must revise its various policies and procedures to ensure compliance and efficiency of process, and whereas the needs arise for the agency to revise its current St. Charles Parish Housing Authority travel policy that was created and passed on April 24th, 2023, and whereas this resolution will allow for the attached revision of the current travel policy originally passed on April 24th, 2023, now therefore be it resolved that the resolution to revise St. Charles Parish Housing travel policy is hereby adopted. The resolution was read in full, roll was called on adoption of same, and the vote was unanimous. All right. 115. All right. Next item on our agenda is Resolution 25082602, approving and adopting resolution to remove late Rodney Woods as signatory on the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority financial documents. Let's see. I think it's clearly stated as to the purpose of this resolution. Approval and adoption of this resolution by the Board of Commissioners is required for the authority to effectuate and transact business in its day-to-day operations. It is a requirement of the bank. The staff recommends board approval and adoption of the proposed resolution, providing for financial signatory authority to designated representatives of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, and to remove Rodney Woods as signatory from St. Charles Parish Housing Authority financial documentation due to his untimely death. Is there any board discussion, or do we have a motion? Mr. Brullier.
I would like to move approval and adoption of this resolution to effectuate and transact business in its day-to-day operations by removing Rodney Woods as a signatory of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority financial documentation due to his death.
Thank you, Mr. Brullier. Mr. Brulier's moved to approve and adopt resolution to remove Rodney Woods as a signatory of St. Charles Parish Housing financial documents due to his death. That has been seconded by Commissioner Bailey. Thank you. Commissioner Bailey, if there's no further discussion, please cast your vote. And that passes unanimously. Resolution 25082602, a resolution of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority Board of Commissioners approving and adopting resolution to remove Rodney Woods as signatory on St. Charles Parish Housing Authority financial documents. The undersigned, being the duly elected Secretary of St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, hereby certifies that by written consent, following resolution was duly adopted. Whereas St. Charles Parish Housing Authority is a public housing agency established pursuant to Louisiana law, and whereas the mission of the authority is to promote adequate and affordable housing, economic opportunity, and a suitable living environment free from discrimination, and whereas the authority to designate specific authorized representatives on its financial instrumentations and documents must from time to time be revised and update that list of designated representatives. And whereas the following persons are hereby authorized to be removed from the First National Bank USA signatory form as a designated signatory for the authority on all related financial instruments, once all outstanding financial instruments with their signature on it are deposited and cleared, named Rodney Woods, Commissioner, St. Charles Parish Housing Authority, reason for which is his untimely death. And now therefore be it resolved that the proposed resolution providing for financial signatory authority to designated representatives of the St. Charles Parish Housing Authority and for the removal of Rodney Woods due to his death is hereby approved and adopted for implementation. Above resolution was read in full. Roll was called on adoption of same, and the vote was unanimous. All right. Are there any other matters before us this evening? All right. Do we have a RAD Section 18 conversion update?
Yes, Mr. Chair, and thank you again, Commissioners. I am pleased to report that HUD has restarted their consultancy contract with the technical assistance provider, Mr. Jaime Bordnave. And Jaime, I've mentioned his name to the board before, has helped us considerably in preparing for the transition from the streamlined voluntary conversion to the RAD Section 18 blend conversion. And we did meet with him on last week, myself and Richard Murray from Standard Enterprises, to walk us through, again, the RAD Resource Desk, and that is our online application portal for the RAD application submission. And since he's been working with us to prepare the updated application documentation for upload to the Resource Desk, and we also will have our first stakeholder meeting on next week to discuss the RAD Section 18 process and the needs for the project with parish leadership. So we look forward to reporting back on the progress moving forward to the board, and we're just very excited about the actions that we're thankful for the actions that HUD took to get that consultancy contract back in place, because Jaime has been a big help, and he's making sure that all of our I's are dotted, our T's are crossed, and our lowercase j's are dotted as well. So we're thankful for that. Just wanted to make sure that the board was aware of the progress that we're making.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jackson. Any questions or comments? All right, seeing none, this time we'll open for public comment. Seeing no one in the chamber, public comment is closed. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Ms. Diggs?
Make a motion that we adjourn.
All right, Ms. Diggs has moved to adjourn. Do we have a second? Mr. Joseph, second. Please cast your votes. And that passes. The time is now 6:28. We are adjourned.